Hi, Pinkies. So, about 2 weeks ago, Rain, do you have to? About 2 weeks ago, the Heartstopper Yearbook came out, and I was really excited. This is the first time I ever got to wait for a book to come out and like to go in person to get that book. I called them, and they were like, "No, we don't got that one yet." So I pre-ordered it, and then I called them like a bad ex. I called them every single day. I was like, "Yo, do you got my book? Yo, do you got my book? Yo, do you got my book?" Yesterday I called them, and the guy was like, "Let me just place you another order for the book, because maybe if two people order it, it'll come faster." Anyways, we're here at Barnes&noble. We're gonna go get the book. It's a beautiful, beautiful rainy day. I love rainy days. I get to wear my Ushanka for the first time since I left Moscow, which is fun. Let's get this book.
1, 2, 3, 4. Never speaks to me. I'm sorry. I never see you. I never see you. I never see you. I never see you. I never see you anymore.
Hey, so I'm back in my room and I got Heartstopper Yearbook. So I read this whole thing and I'm actually really impressed. I wasn't expecting it to be this much fun. I was expecting it to just be like a little nice break from the series, just a little more lighthearted because the series often covers some darker subjects. I didn't expect it to be much more than an art book. The introduction of the book shows a lot of her journey in starting the Heartstopper franchise. She talks about the first book, which is called Solitaire. The Heartstopper franchise is all just a spin-off of that book. I had no idea about that. I really didn't know. I knew that her books were vaguely connected, but I had no idea that they all spawned from Solitaire. She was writing these books when she was in college, and when she started off, she was not nearly as good as she is with her art today. I still love those early drawings. They have a much different style than her drawings have taken on now. It's not a bad style, but it's more anime-esque, I would say. Especially Charlie. Charlie and Nick are very close in body shape and size to each other. By the end of the book, you can tell she's a lot more comfortable with drawing different body shapes and sizes and how to draw the Heartstopper characters. And she actually shows mechaniques, which is something that I learned in art school, which is just, you draw head, you draw 9 heads, you draw a line to do your spine. Basically, you go from there. But usually when I'm looking at how to draw, characters on TikTok or whatever, it's not using the traditional method. Early on in the book, I also had a Leonardo DiCaprio, look at that, I know that, I know what that is. She said her early drawing software was GIMP, which is something that I use to this day. About 2 pages later, she says, at this point I was confident enough to buy Photoshop, and I went, oh, well, I guess they're not all winners. Any animation work I do it all in GIMP. I know there's better software to use, and sometimes, especially with stylus work, I use Krita. I love the character profiles. I love that even characters like Ben, who's sort of an antagonist in the series, got his own little character profile. She even says that in her mind he gets a redemption arc after this, but Charlie never has to forgive him. I thought that was an interesting thing to say. At the very beginning of the book, you get to see Osman's character profile on herself. She draws herself. She says what song is sort of like the defining song, which is a Radiohead song. So throughout the book, I was sort of looking at each of the characters and trying to figure out who is the most like Osman. Who's the one that's like her self-insert? There's a couple. I think Aled and I think Tori are 2 characters that are very similar to Osman. She gave them both Radiohead songs. I don't know if it's the same album even, but it makes me think that those ones are the most like her as a person. I love that when you get to Tori's page, she actually says this is the first character in any of these books that she created, and it all sort of spawned from her, which I think is really beautiful because when Rebecca Sugar talks about Steven Universe, she says the first character in that universe was Sadie and Lars, and those 2 characters were ones that she would draw throughout college, and eventually the story formed around them. I think it's really beautiful when these, sort of outsider characters end up being the first, because you never expect it. You never expect that these randos that are just background characters, they're fun, but they're not, they're not Steven, they're not Nick and Charlie, they're not the main characters. It's interesting to see them be the first ones ever created in this universe. Anyways, this book was really fun. It was kind of, reading this book with color was the most surprising thing ever. I've been reading all of these books without color, so to see this, like, it's eye-opening. I love seeing her drawings with color. Especially, there's a mini comic she does with Nick and Charlie where they're looking out at the sunset, and the light on their faces, the landscape is something that I didn't see in Heartstopper before. I sort of saw them as, you know, sort of a webtoon style, sort of like a cute little drawing that somebody would do on like a napkin. But with that much detail, you can really see how the show would form from these drawings. They're a lot more true to life when they're in color. Anyways, this was a really fun pickup, and I recommend it. I don't know if it's worth the $21.99 compared to just buying one of these books, which is closer to $15, sometimes $13 if you're buying multiple at Barnes&noble. They have deals, but I had a lot of fun reading it, and I'm glad that I can put it on the shelf, my collection back here. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit like, subscribe, check out my other reviews, and yeah, have a great day. Bye. Oh, Ben Affleck, how you carry those Dunkin' Donuts like they mean the life to you. Ben Affleck, Dunkin' Donuts. Ben Affleck, Dunkin' Donuts. Why are you still here?